Welcome. You are listening to the Be a Better Being podcast hosted by Michelle Zellner and Sasha Berscheid. Michelle and Sasha are here to give you information and inspiration to help you live your healthiest, happiest lives. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the show.
Greetings. Thank you again for tuning into the Be a Better Being podcast. My name is Michelle Zellner. I'm your host, and I am joined again by the amazing Miss Sasha Berscheid. How are you doing, my dear, today?
I'm fantastic.
I love it. I always love to see your smiling face because no matter what my day has been like, I see your face on the screen, and no matter what expression you have on it, I don't know, it just does something to me. So always so good to see you.
Likewise, sis. Likewise. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad
Awesome.
to be able to share what has been laid on us with our people.
Yes. Well, so speaking of that, in our first few episodes, we've laid out our backstory, and I don't know about you, but people are always asking me, well, what does your day look like? What do you eat for breakfast? And how much exercise do you do? And kind of tell me what your life looks like. And so not that anybody should be doing or can do what we do, but I thought it might be interesting for us just to kind of lay it out and share with the listeners what a day in the life of Michelle and a day in the life of Sasha looks like. So what do you think of that?
I love it. I even had this conversation yesterday. It's something that I know for a fact every person can do it. It's whether or not they're willing to pick up the burden of discipline to do it.
Yeah, it all comes down to choices, right? And obviously, everybody's reality is different. And your reality today is different from what your reality 5 years ago was. And it's different from what it's going to be in a year. And same for me. And your reality today is going to be different from your reality tomorrow as well. So I like to remind people that it is about your intentional choices based in the realm of your current reality. And we'll probably do a whole episode or multiple on mindset and how the all or nothing mindset usually doesn't lead us to where we want to go. So that's a big piece of it. But I agree with you. I think it is about choices, and it's about setting yourself up for success. And I know in my own journey with all of this, trying to live a healthier lifestyle, I would usually kind of go down the road and say something like, okay, I'm going to try to eat really healthy today, or I'm going to make better choices this week, or I'm going to try to get to the gym 3 times this week. And that's literally where it would end. I'm going to try. And I would not put any kind of systems or structures or plan in place to actually make it happen. And then, of course, when it didn't happen, I would get into that cycle of negativity and beating myself up, and we know where that goes. So what is your process with all of this been?
I love that you're asking me, because you're not the first and you're not the last. I actually want to give a huge shout out to Paige, because Paige has been I call her the backbone, because she constantly was asking me, how much water did you drink? How much do you sleep? What kind of exercise? What are you eating? And that's actually, she's the reason why I started Sasha's 7-Day in 2020. RIP, rest in peace, Sasha's 7-Day. But it was a great way for me to say, okay, so people are noticing that I'm different today than I was even last year, that I'm different today than I was 5 years ago. And what are those processes or things that I have implemented in my life to make sure that when I show up, I show up? When you and I sat and talked together, one of the first times you and I met, we talked about what it means to show up for people when they invite you to places, or when you're on a phone call with them. That intentionality, instead of being like, I can't deal with this because I haven't drank enough water. But you don't realize that is actually the issue. So for me, I make sure that I do 3 meals a day, 3 snacks a day. And those are all typically paleo based. Sometimes I do have some other things, but my body, I have noticed, it responds very well to paleo. So then additional to my food, I drink a minimum of 100 ounces of water a day. Now, I know to a lot of people that's a lot. So I am not by any means recommending that someone just go out there and start drinking 100 ounces of water a day. I would say, let's start with 64. That sounds like a huge and drastic number, but I promise you can get there. Additionally, I know my body, it needs a minimum of 8 hours of sleep. Now, a lot of people can go off of 5 or 6, and I just can't. I'm nutty. I cannot do that. Movement defined by me, I think the human body is one of the most magnificent gifts that we have been given, right? Our vessel to travel through this time on the earth. And my body loves to move in several different ways. So I don't just practice the same movement or the same rhythm. I love to change it up a lot. Additionally, the last 2 tenets that I force myself to focus on a day-to-day basis, even if I've shot everything else, if I've eaten complete crap and I didn't get my sleep in and I'm a hot mess express, I for sure make myself practice self-love. Always self-love. It starts right here in the inside. If you're empty there's nothing to pour. And then lastly, what is obviously one of the most important, is just having that attitude of gratitude or meditation or yoga or prayer, but something that can connect you with your inner being, your energy source, to make you realize that life is so complex and so beautiful all at the same time.
I love that. So how long have you been consistently practicing that foundation? Because I think what you just described that's all foundational. That's actually what a human specimen needs, right? But we live in this convenience world. We live in modern society. Yeah. So we literally don't have to do anything physically and we can get our job done. We can push a button on our phone and food shows up in front of us. We are naturally inclined to respond in fight or flight, which is anger, fear, anxiety. That's totally normal, but probably not necessary in the worlds in which we live today anymore. And we have a lot of reasons to stay up well past when our brain has signaled that we should go to sleep. So you're describing foundational things, which, no shocker, they're mine as well. And those are the things that are required for a human in order to operate properly. So how long have you been doing that? And what made you actually just kind of start that process? And where did you come up with those basic things?
So the first time I ever introduced myself into this type of lifestyle, because it is what it is. This is not a fad. This is not a diet. I don't consider this a diet. If I want to go and have pizza, I'll eat pizza. It's not the end of the world. But I started this lifestyle in 2014/2015 when I first got sober. And it was just me actually getting in tune with myself and saying, hey, what makes you feel good? How is it that you can show up for this? But then I did take a small snippet of a break from 2018 and 2019 because I had back-to-back pregnancies. And my first pregnancy, I was very sick. There was no movement. There was just a lot of praying, a lot of attitude of gratitude for being able to be present and still be alive. And I drank a lot of water, but that was I couldn't move. I couldn't eat. I just ate pancakes and really enriched or fortified foods. And it was in February of 2020, after about 5 months postpartum from having Draco, that I took a selfie of myself in the mirror. And I just remember thinking to myself, this can't be the rest of your life. You can't just, not wanting to say it's okay to call yourself names, because I don't. But at that moment, I felt like a sluggo. And I told myself, I don't want to be sluggo anymore. Like, I was made for so much more than sluggo, So I would say truly 100% since February of 2020.
And so when you looked at yourself in the mirror and you decided to take a selfie, I mean, okay, besides being a sluggo, like, what else were you thinking and feeling and experiencing? And why did, just really reverting to basics, why did that seem to be the answer for you?
I compare it very much so to my rock bottom with sobriety, when I was laying on the floor of the ground, screaming and crying and begging God to make me, or the universe, to make me its vessel to do whatever it takes.
Hold on, time out. you can say God. If
I
that's
know,
who
I
you're
know.
praying to, you can say
I know, I know, I know,
okay.
but I want to
We
be
have,
respectful
and you
to
know what,
everyone.
but it's your truth. So
Yes,
we
it is
speak
my
our
truth.
truth here, and
This is very true, and I
it's
love
no
that.
judgment for what anybody else thinks, but that's yours.
Right.
That's
That's
your
mine.
truth.
Absolutely. So when I was begging God for a life worth living and for assistance, and said I can't do this on my own, it was much the same moment. And I knew that I had to take a picture for accountability, but I also knew in that moment that if I'm physically going to call myself out to myself, who I respect the most, I respect myself the most, I love myself the most, that is absolutely non selfish whatsoever. But if I'm going to call myself out in the presence of God, in the presence of myself, and say, I demand more, I expect more. You are a badass, and you are amazing, and you need to be on point to show up for your kids, for yourself, for your husband, for your friends, for your mother, for your father, like everyone. And I have struggled from a deep, terrible depression, and I'm not willing to go back there again, ever. I'm not willing to go back there again. I understand people are there. I respect your place that you're there. I just want you to know you're not sitting there alone. Even though I don't seem like I'm there with you. And additionally, I want to give people hope. When you are in those spots where you feel like nothing can be done, there is hope, and there's always something that you can do to change.
Yeah, well, you touched on so many things here. I think number one, self-love, and the idea that we actually feel like we deserve to be taken care of, because I've been doing what I do for 25 years. I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands of people, and it makes me incredibly sad how many people really don't believe that they deserve to be taken care of. Now, that being said, you as the individual are the one who's responsible to take care of yourself. I'm not saying that somebody should be taking care of you, but they put themselves last because they think everyone else is more important than them. And, that is something I think for each individual to dig deep into. Why do we feel that way? Because if you don't feel valued enough to actually give yourself what you need in order to thrive, you're never going to find the results that you're looking for. And you and I both know that people are very often looking for the quick fix, right? Oh, I'm going to do this for 7 days and I'll do it perfectly, and then I won't do anything until the next challenge comes. Or I'm going to go on this diet and I'll reach the goals, and then I'll stop doing all the things that got me to that goal. And that mindset shift is so incredibly important if you actually want to be a healthy, happy, thriving human, not today or next week or in a year, but the future version of yourself that maybe it'll take 3 years or 5 years or 10 years to get there. But recognizing that all along the way, you are a better version of yourself than you were the day before, the week before, the year before. And understanding that this is a process. And I think we live in such an age of this idea that there's this instant result with little to no effort, and that the result is going to be a long lasting one. I don't know. I think people have to have some very hard conversations with themselves, but that does require a big mindset shift and looking at things from a different perspective, and then buying into the idea that these little things, I mean, Sasha, what you and I talk about, this is not rocket science. Drink water. That's not hard. You are a human. A human requires water. And I'm going to challenge
Tell
you.
me why.
Ounces.
I bet you people don't know why. Why do we require water?
Because every single process in your body uses water as a catalyst to make it happen.
But people don't get that.
I know. And that's what you and I are here for, to educate why these things actually matter, right? I mean, if you have a plant, you don't just not water it. As soon as you see it wilt, you water it. Now, if you're a really good caretaker, you don't let it wilt. You water it because you know a plant needs water, right?
But if I'm thirsty and my plant is thirsty, I can give it like tea, right? Because tea is natural. No, still not water.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And, my guideline for water, and it does still shock me to this day, how many people don't get anywhere close to the water they need. Half your body weight in ounces is basically a minimum. That's not including if you're exercising and sweating, you're out in the hot weather working and you're sweating. That's simply because that is what your body needs to be able to conduct all the processes that are going on in your body constantly. So I am going to challenge people to, if you do nothing else, adequately hydrate yourself, right? It's so basic. And yet I think sometimes we don't really appreciate the power of basic things. And drinking water is not hard. I get it. Finding time to exercise and eat right and do all those things, those are a little more difficult. Drinking water is not hard. So at the very least, let's hopefully that, we can get people on board with doing that.
I just got goosebumps because that was actually going to be my challenge today too. I'm not even kidding.
We are not Sasha for no reason, my friend.
We are not. You're right.
Yes.
But if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you, because you and I understand what it means when I say processes or like the systems in your body. Give me one, let's dummy it down. Let's the importance of water in this one particular process or process in your body. Give me an example. That way they understand, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that that's water.
Yeah, well, let's just take circulation and appropriate blood pressure for one thing.
There we go.
I mean, if we're dehydrated, we don't have the amount of fluid going through the arteries necessary to properly circulate the blood, which is carrying our oxygen and nutrition. So dehydration can lead to your brain not thinking properly. So you don't have focus, you don't have mental clarity, you're easily distracted. But just in a basic sense, right? Back in the day, the reason you were not adequately hydrated was because there was no water. There was a drought, or at least there was a water shortage. And we had to ration it until hopefully we got to where we found the next spring of water or the mountain stream that we could drink from. So if you are not adequately hydrated, your body thinks there must be a water shortage and this could turn into a drought and then I will die. Well, you're not going to die because you're a human. So instead, I will just compensate by rationing everything I have, which means every single system in your body is going to work at a subpar level because it doesn't know when you're going to find water next. And so if you just think of it in that way, I think that right there, that's about as basic as you can get. So metabolism, body temperature, brain process functioning, muscle activity, kidney filtration. All of those
favorite
things.
Waste. That's my favorite.
Yes. Getting rid of waste, right? Super critical. So yeah, I hope that makes it basic enough for people to understand how to do it or why it's important. And, I hear people like, well, I don't like water. Okay. Well,
I say the meanest thing when people tell me this. And if this offends people, take a ticket. We're going to probably offend people, and that's okay to be offended. Just don't live your life in offense. I learned that this week and I love that. I was like, it's okay to be offended. That's a natural defense mechanism. Just don't live your life in offense. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. When people tell me, Sasha, I don't see how you drink that much water. I hate water. I don't like water. I'll only drink Mountain Dew. I just look at them and I say, grow up. Grow up.
It's funny you say that. Because my mom, love her, she is one of those, I don't like water. I don't like water. I'm like, well, you know what, Mom, there's a lot of things I didn't like as a kid and I had to do them anyway.
Yeah.
Because they were required. So we had some kind of scary situations with my mom, and it was because she was dehydrated. And I think the second scary situation that happened was finally her wake-up call. So it doesn't matter if you don't like it, your human specimen needs it. So we got to figure out how to do it.
You got to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. But yeah, I think, sometimes it's the basics. And again, we often are looking for things to be super complicated, right? What's this magic diet or this amazing workout that's going to give me some result? No, just do the basics. Drink water, eat real food in as close to its natural state as possible. More often than not, we'll dive deep into nutrition, I'm sure, in many, many episodes. But basically, you have to eat real food, right? So if in theory, you can go outside and find it, growing in the ground, hanging off a tree, swimming in the water, or roaming in the pasture, it's real, which means it provides your body the raw materials necessary to help your body function correctly. Nutrition, again, it's very personal. People have religious beliefs, philosophical beliefs, your own personal way that you react to particular foods. All of those are going to determine the details of somebody's specific intake. But a human should be eating real food, not fake stuff, not things that are artificially created, things that the body doesn't understand, because what it's going to try to do then is help you get rid of it because it looks at it as some version of poison. So understanding how to eat real food and how we go about doing that as a lifestyle, we will definitely spend a lot of time talking about, because that was probably my biggest piece of the puzzle to figure out. I think when you and I first talked, we had a great conversation about what are our most non-negotiables. And obviously every human needs water, proper food intake, sleep, joy, gratitude, minimal fight or flight experiences. But some of us can get away with maybe not doing certain ones super awesome and still be okay. And others can get away with doing other things not super awesome and still be okay. Not as a lifestyle, but for a short period of time. And I think for you, it was sleep. And 100%. For me, it was food. Food is a non-negotiable. So
yeah, for me, it's, I say 8 hours because I don't want to get made fun of, but the reality is 9 hours for me. So I'm one of those J-Lo queens, 9 hours, have to do it.
And you know what? I think so many people, and as you get older, I hope this doesn't happen to you, but a lot of people have great time sleeping, and then things change because body chemistry does change as you get older. And all of a sudden you never had a problem sleeping and now you can't sleep. So those are things we'll dive into in other topic episodes as well. But everybody has different sleep needs. So you shouldn't feel like you'll be made fun of. I think that's another just societal, unrealistic expectation that we have been force fed, that sleeping means you're lazy, or if you don't sleep you have some moral superiority. No, sleep needs are just like anything else. You have different nutrition needs than I do. You have different proper hydration needs than I do. You have different sleep needs than I do, because we're all different. But what is necessary is that every human allows for the time for the body and the brain to do all the rest, repair, and recovery work that is supposed to be happening during the various stages of the sleep cycle. And we have to get through 4 to 6 of those cycles every night in order to have optimal outcomes. And your sleep cycle is probably a little longer than somebody else's sleep cycle, which is why you feel great on 9 hours and somebody else might feel great on 7.5 hours. It's not that that person has any superhuman capabilities. Their sleep cycle is probably just a little shorter than yours. And that's why we have that difference.
Yeah, now you just got to tell that to my husband.
Yes. Well, educating and enlightening those in our environments is all part of the journey.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I know. And I used to go through that with food. So I was a gymnast growing up, and as an athlete, as you know, you eat probably more than most people do, especially if you have any degree of muscle. And again, my family was wonderful, but they didn't have the body I had. They weren't putting in 4 hours of practice like I was. So I was hungry all the time. That was legit. That wasn't me just wanting to eat. That was, I'm hungry. So I would get the, hey, didn't you just eat? But yeah, I did. And I need to eat again. This is not a problem, right? This is me understanding my body. But of course, as we mold and develop into that, now I have shame because I have to eat again. So now I'm going to maybe eat in secret, or I'm not going to eat because I don't want to be judged. And now that's going to create a whole bunch of different situations down the road. So as I figured myself out and my stuff out, and food was a big one, I do not apologize to anybody for me eating. And this would still go on well into adulthood, because I would be with friends and I know that my body needs to eat. So we'd be going out to dinner and I'm like, oh my God, let's make a decision because I'm about to die. And they don't, they think I'm exaggerating, which obviously I'm not about to die, but it is not good when I don't eat. So I've learned, hey, we're going out to dinner. You know what? I'm going to drink a protein shake before we go, because I need to take care of me. I'm not going to rely on somebody else or put myself at the mercy of a situation or an environment to assume that it's going to fill my needs. I learned that I take care of me. I don't ever leave home without food. I don't care if I'm leaving the house for 30 minutes Or if I'm leaving the house for 30 days, I bring food with me because I know me, and I don't want to have to wait until I get somewhere where I can buy food or where it's going to be served to me. Because every time I've done that, it either was way longer than it should have been, and or typically what they're offering is a bunch of garbage. And now that's just going to set me in a whole different direction that I don't want to go. So for you, sleep is non-negotiable. For me, food is non-negotiable, and I take care of my own needs. That's the way we have to operate on those things.
Agree. Absolutely. 100%.
So, I think as people listen to this, I want you to think about, what are your non-negotiables? I've done a lot of one-on-one coaching. That's a big piece of what I do. And for a lot of people, it's the stress management piece, or it's the mindfulness piece. It's the calming down piece. So I used to get questioned all the time, like, oh, you're in wellness, you must do yoga. And when I would say, no, I don't do yoga. Well, oh my God, well, how do you not do yoga? Don't you have to do yoga to be a healthy person? And I'm like, no, actually, you don't. Now, I'm not saying that anyone who does yoga, it's not a great thing. I think yoga is amazing. And for some people that need that way to redirect their thoughts, to have the intentionality while they're on the mat, of course, the physical benefits of strengthening your core, balance, flexibility, those are all great things. I personally have other ways of redirecting my focus. I don't have a super busy mind. That's just not what I was given. And so something like that is not, it's a negotiable thing for me. It's not super critical. Whereas for somebody else, that daily meditation, that daily yoga practice, that daily journaling practice, that might be your non-negotiable. So I would love everybody who's listening to just come up with your one non-negotiable, keeping in mind that every human needs all of these things. Okay, so we're going to get to that and how to make those work into your lifestyle as well. But when you have a foundational one non-negotiable and you commit to that and you never ever give it up, it makes all the other things easier to get into your life as well. What are your thoughts on that, my dear?
Yeah. Additionally, when you know your one non-negotiable, you take all your, like, I personally believe that you take all your power back, because you know what it's going to take to stop your cycle, right? So that means for me, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to trust that my brain is going to restore, repair, everything, my chemicals, my muscles, my body, my heart even. And then I know that the next day is a new one. So if I didn't get great sleep the night before, there's always tonight. Or for you, it's your food, right? So right now I'm making a poor choice, but I know my next meal, I'm going to get back on track, and just realizing it doesn't have to be that all or nothing. Like, I didn't get my sleep, rah. But if you aren't in tune with what it is that your non-negotiable is, you'll never know what is your switch to turn you back on to you. Does that make sense?
I love that. It's the reset button, right?
The reset. That's it. That's exactly what it is. Yes. Yeah. Good call out. It is exactly that. It is the reset button of your you.
Yes. I love that. And so often when I'm counseling people and I ask them, well, tell me when you were in a good place, what were you doing? And they walk through a bunch of things. And, let's say it was, I used to journal. Well, why did you stop doing that? Well, because I was in a good place. I didn't feel like I needed it. And I think that is a big trap a lot of us fall into, right? It's the old, well, I don't feel pain, so I don't have to continue to do the therapy that took the pain away. No, you probably do. It's called maintenance, right? Mm-hmm. Because that is what helped you get to where you are. So if you find yourself falling into the trap, again, it's about not the all or nothing mindset, but pick that one thing. And let's just focus on that one thing, because there is a huge ripple effect. You put one thing in line, it helps to align all the other things. And at the very least, that one thing is doing a whole bunch of great things, so that if I'm a little out of alignment in other things, it's probably at least to some degree offsetting the damage that those other things could be doing. And we have to give ourselves grace, because this is life. Mm-hmm. Life is a series of difficulties. Okay, if you haven't figured that out yet, that's what life is. It's how you choose to navigate those difficulties that's really going to determine the outcome. So I love the thought of a non-negotiable. I would love everybody to come up with their non-negotiable and really put an action plan in place for you to make it a daily routine, part of your habit. It never leaves your life. It might look a little different. Some days, maybe you journal for 5 minutes, maybe another day you journal for 30 minutes, or maybe you decide, hey, I just need to do it 3 times a week. That's where the tailored plan comes in, that each individual gets to kind of create their own prescription for what's going to be realistic and helpful in your own personal path, and not this formula that here, you should just do this because, well, that might work for me or for Sasha or for your cousin. Well, that might not work for you. And that's why I don't do things like that. I want people to come up with their own prescriptions, their own tailored plans.
Learn from yourself.
Exactly.
Listen, allow yourself to guide yourself, allow yourself to listen to yourself. So, I mean, you're constantly talking to yourself. So give it a go of what is it asking for? What is it begging for? What is it saying to you?
Yeah, I think it's learn from yourself, but it's also learn about yourself. And, we just want to be spoon-fed the answers. And I get it. I wanted that at some point too. But you know what? Here's the reality I have discovered. Most people have their answers. They have their answers. They just have to understand and acknowledge and then do the work to put it in place, because that's the only way that the outcome comes.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, wonderful. Well, then I think on that note, we should probably wrap up, because I think we've given people enough to think about. So I know you and I are very intentional about what we do day to day. And I mean, part of my goal is to help people be better beings, right? So I came up with the intentions of a better being. And I think every day, setting your intentions, how do you intend to navigate your day, to spend your time, your money, your energy? What choices do you intend to make? If you can set the intention, whether you follow through or not, that's a whole separate piece of it. But setting the intention gives you an expectation. It gives you a path, gives you the blueprint. And then whether we followed through or not, that's the learning opportunity, but that comes later. So I am going to challenge everybody to start their day with specific intentions. Maybe you pick 1, maybe you pick 5. Again, you get to tailor your plan and put that intention into action, because that's when you're going to really start to see some result going forward.
I love it.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, my dear, as always, love seeing your face, love chatting with you, love getting to hear your perspective on these, because these are not things you and I have talked about. So it's always great for me as well to get to know more about you.
I love it. Love it.
Excellent.
Thank you for taking the time to spend time with me. And for all of you listening, honestly, it is like the greatest gift, knowing that you're taking your time. As many of you know, it's the one thing that you can't purchase more of. So thank you for spending time with us and doing your due diligence to also become a better being.
Yes, I love that. Well, thank you everybody for listening to the Be a Better Being podcast. And honestly, this is your job. It is to go and be a better being.
Thank you for listening to the Be a Better Being podcast. Michelle and Sasha hope that what you heard today inspires you to embrace this journey of life with an open mind, a kind heart, and a willingness to learn and evolve. If you enjoyed the content, please help spread their message by subscribing, sharing, and leaving a 5-star review. If you have a show topic idea or would like to be a guest, please visit betterbeings.net and fill out a contact form. Until next time, go and be a better being.